split up in Pro Beach Volleyball. Karch went out and signed up Rob Heiger. It didn't last. Heiger went to Frohoff. That didn't last. What about Johnson and Stoklos? Playing together for the last 2 years. I can tell you right now, folks, they have split up. Meanwhile, on the southern end of the spectrum, the Brazilians. I can tell you, folks, they have split up. What about Mike Whitmarsh? Has he dumped Mike Dodd? What do you think? Faces, going places, everywhere. New partners, new stuff on this week's AVP Tour next. From the Crescent Court Beach here in downtown Dallas, Texas, Prime Sports presents AVP Pro Beach Volleyball. Today it's the $100,000 Nestle Open at Dallas. Hi again, everybody. I'm Chris Marlowe. Since Kent Stevis went out of action 5 weeks ago, 4 tournaments have been played. Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh have won 2. Scott Akatabi and Karch Karai have won 2. This week, major changes on the AVP Tour. We're talking partner changes. For details, let's bring in the man, Paul Sunderland. You're going to tell me who did what to whom, but I want to know, why make a change now? Is this a good time to change?
Well, it had to do with a couple of key factors. I think, first of all, Adam Johnson was very frustrated, and Anginio got hurt last week, making his partner Loyola available. But the honeymoon is indeed over. Adam Johnson and Randy Stoklos, who got the season off to such a good start, winning a couple of tournaments on the Avion indoor circuit, had yet to win outdoors, and a 7th last week really put an end to their partnership. And when top teams break up, it changes in a lot of faces and places. You see Johnson now with Loyola. Heiger goes with Stoklos. Fanoy-Moana and Ludi still together. Tanner and Welch. You got Frohoff, who was playing with Rob Heiger. He goes with Tim Hovland. So is there trickle-down effect? I don't know if it's economics or not. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, Johnson and Stoklos make the breakup. What about the effect of their breakup on other teams? This is what they said.
I don't particularly know. I mean, I think it all started when I gave my partner, ex-partner now, Randy, a call, and I guess it just got started rolling from there. You know, once that happens, then everybody starts making some calls, and you've got a lot of new teams the next weekends.
Well, you know, that's what happens when you talk about the top players splitting up. Adam and I have split up from last weekend. I'm playing with Rob Heiger. He's playing with Loyola, a player from Brazil. It's a kind of a domino effect. When one falls off, the rest try to go and find another player, and usually that's the way it is in the sport of beach volleyball. There's a limited amount of players that play the game, especially at a very high level, and you're looking at trying to play with the best player. Those things are bound to happen.
All right. Now, and of course, you're wondering how these new teams did. Stoklos and Heiger were upset in the first round right here as Randy Stoklos hits the ball wide by number 28 and last seed Henry Russell and Bert Stefko. They were eliminated later on by Bullion and Lewis, finishing 9th. A frustrating start to a new team. Our other new group, Johnson and Loyola, they got off to a better start, but then they met Ricky Ludis and Eric Fanoy-Moana. They would lose there in the quarterfinals, and they would go on and finish 7th. So 2 new teams hoping to do better. Of course, Johnson in particular, because he's the one that broke up with Stoklos, going with Loyola, but right now a disappointing 7th.
How about the biggest news on the beach this week? Yes. One man is named Canyon Seaman and Jeff Rogers. These two have played unbelievably well.
We got to say their names again.
Canyon Seaman and Jeff Rogers.
The best tournament that they may have ever had. They're already equaled their best finish all season long. They got a break when Stoklos and Heiger lost, but they've beaten some good teams. Beat Bullion and Lewis. And then the biggest win of the tournament, you could see how hard they were working out here. They were playing fast and furiously. Jeff Rogers and Canyon Seaman upset the number 1 seed, Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh. They went on and suffered their only defeat of the tournament to Karai and Akatabi, but they are, as they say, in the show.
Miller Lite bonus pool worth $1 million this year. Let's update you on who's in first. It's Karch Karai by a whopping margin at the moment. Dodd and Whitmarsh in second.
Well, they've had a solid season so far, so consistent. Kent Stevis, although he's been on the shelf, still among the leaders. Stoklos and Johnson, some distance, of course, will come between them since they've split up, as it will with the Brazilians since they've gone their separate directions. We'll see what happens with Anginio, Scott Akatabi, and Rob Heiger filling out the top 10.
All right, we are getting ready for semifinal action. A rematch, Dodd and Whitmarsh going up against Rogers and Canyon Seaman after this. Action. Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh, Canyon Seaman, and Jeff Rogers. Karch-Karai, Scott Akitavi in the winner's bracket. We'll see them a little later in our final. Jeff Rogers in the purple jersey and white hat, 6'2", 185. He's 30 years old, always been a very good player, ranked 20th this year. And he got a third last season at Baltimore. Kind of kid that can jump up and bite you. And he's playing with one of the young up-and-coming stars on the AVP Tour, we think, as Mike Dodd puts it away. His partner is Canyon Seaman. Mike Dodd gets the kill. Of course, you know about Mike Dodd, a veteran, 37 years old, out of Manhattan Beach, California. 65 career wins, 5th all-time. He's $14,000 behind St. John Smith in terms of all-time money. Here's Rogers, and Rogers is up. Ball flies to Canyon Seaman in the red hat, and he puts it away. Canyon Seaman, the 1993 NCAA Player of the Year. A lot of people think he is going to be very, very good.
Well, he's showing right now he may have arrived. He's only 22 years of age, big and strong, knows where the weight room is, likes to work out, and knows that he can make a great deal of money out here on the beach in the next several years. Has aspirations to play in the Olympics, maybe indoors. I talked to him. He says, hey, Paul, maybe on the beach in 2000. We shall wait and see, but he's a very, very good player, an All-American setter at Stanford, sets the ball extremely well. But you know what they always say is we get a look at Mike Whitmarsh, he and Mike Dodd having such a successful season so far. You know, you can upset a good team once, but it's very hard to beat them twice in the same tournament.
Canyon Seaman bounces one up to the Nestea bottle. Canyon is 22 years old, coming out of Stanford University. The weather, 80 degrees. Wind has picked up just a bit. And a beautiful day for volleyball. Here comes Whitmarsh, and it's off Rogers, out of bounds. So give the kill to Mike Whitmarsh. Whitmarsh is 33 years old. He's turning 33 on May 18th, just recently. Still, perhaps the most feared blocker in volleyball. There's Rogers.
Oh, he is. He is the most feared blocker on the beach tour right now.
Here's Canyon Seaman, and it's right to Dodd. Chance for the first point of the game. Here comes Dodd, and he puts it away.
Dodd and Whitmarsh did not look good when they lost to the same team this morning. They just didn't get it going. Whitmarsh and Dodd were struggling. Their transition game was not there, but it's like since they got down into the contenders bracket, they've really picked up their game, faced the challenge. They beat a couple of good teams. They beat Tanner Welsh 15-7, and then they dispatched Ludes and Fenoy Moana 15-10 to get back through to this match for third place.
Jeff Rogers getting the kill. He had his best year last year when he won over $45,000. And now Canyon Seaman will serve. Mike Dodd in the green, and he puts it away. So Mike Dodd, who won 54 of his 65 tournaments with Tim Hovland, 6 with Whitmarsh, 3 with Karai, 1 with Ricky Ludes, and 1 with Pat Powers. He'll play defense. Whitmarsh will serve, leading 1-0. Canyon sets it up, and Dodd with the dig. Oh, and he missed it. Wow.
Dodd going for the 50-50 crank. He's going, wait a minute, I could envision bouncing that one from here to Houston.
Rogers back to serve.
Mike Dodd going, wait a minute, big mistake here by Seaman and Rogers. Look at Canyon Seaman down on one knee, just waiting for the heater. Dodd cranks it into the top of the tape.
Here's Jeff Rogers with the serve, and he serves it into the top of the net. 1-0, Dodd and Whitmarsh leading Rogers and Seaman. Rogers and Seaman, the 12th seeded team in this tournament, and they've already beaten Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh once. You saw Dodd's first win back at State Beach, 1981. Here comes Canyon, and Canyon fires it through.
I don't know why they're serving Canyon Seaman, quite frankly. Jeff Rogers moves the ball around. He's very cagey with his ability to move the ball and use the entire court, but Canyon Seaman has got major heat and good shots as well.
Whitmarsh, nice dig by Rogers, but it's going out of bounds. So Whitmarsh and Dodd get the ball. Winner of this match goes on to play Karch-Karai and Scott Akitabi, who are undefeated in this tournament.
Winning the serve.
And here's Whitmarsh. Jeff Rogers off Dodd and out of bounds. Jeff Rogers told me this week he had never played with Canyon Seaman. He'd be playing with Brian Gatsky, and that didn't work out. He played with Pat Powers last weekend and got a 17th. And on Tuesday,
That didn't work out.
Yeah, he called up Canyon Seaman. Seaman was waiting to see if Dan Verbalovich would play with him. Verbalovich said, I'm playing with Hansen. And so that's how this team got together.
Well, because Tim Hovland went with Brent Frohoff, and we showed you the top 8 seeds at the beginning of this semifinal match. But, you know, it just trickles down all the way down through the ranks, probably affecting the top 14 seeds, 15 seeds.
1-0, Dodd and Whitmarsh lead it.
Interesting to see what happened when Ingenio comes back.
Yes.
Who he will partner with.
Whitmarsh with the block. And Whitty got one finally.
Well, he was very frustrated. We talked about how well Canyon, Seaman, and Jeff Rogers played against Whitmarsh and Dodd in the semifinal match earlier this morning when Seaman and Rogers won, and Mike Whitmarsh could just not find an answer to Canyon Seaman and got him here.
Serving Rogers 2-0. And Rogers cuts it inside. So Rogers gets the kill.
Canyon Seaman was a candidate for the 96 Olympic indoor team after he left Stanford, competing with Dan Greenbaum, Loy Ball, and now Jeff Stork.
Actually just went on a tour to Asia recently.
Right, for one of those setting positions. But after that recent tour, Chris, he was released. They said, we got enough setters. Yeah, we got enough setters. We'll look for you in the year 2000. And it was a very amicable separation, but and Canyon felt, you know, hey, so be it. It gives me the freedom to come out and play on the beach. And with this finish, he's going to be a hot commodity, particularly with teams changing.
Player of the year at Stanford, 3-time All-American. Here's Rogers, and Rogers smacks it off the top of Whitmarsh. Good idea. 2-0, Dodd and Whitmarsh lead, however.
You'd have to expect that Dodd and Whitmarsh would be a prohibitive favorite, but they were probably a 10-1 favorite in the semifinal against the same team. But since they lost in the semis, they played a couple of long, hard matches against Lewis and Bullion and Fanoy Moana and Ricky Ludes. They want to get this thing over with if they possibly can, and sometimes that's very, very difficult. When you think you should win and want to get it over with, when points don't come easily, you get very frustrated.
Well, Mike Dodd, hoping to have a big weekend. His baby daughter is named Dallas. Little D, by his marriage of Patty Orozco Dodd. Here's Jeff Rogers, and Rogers hits it off Whitmarsh out of bounds. And Whitmarsh may have gotten a finger there. He may have gotten a finger. Let's hope he's okay. It looked like he jammed one there. Yeah. Thumb, finger, what do you think, Paul?
Well, one or the other, but he's in a lot of pain right now, and maybe even his wrist. Saw Joe Klein yesterday in the NBA game go out with a dislocated finger, was popped right back
in. Just yanked that thing back in there.
Yeah, but Whit is holding it like he's in some serious pain, and Tim Brown, the beach doctor, going to go over and take a look.
So there's an injury timeout called. We'll take one, too. Under 7 minutes to play. 2-0, Dodd and Whitmarsh. Out. Consistent team.
Well, they're very, very solid. I mean, last year they might have a down weekend, but they recover completely. Kirai on top. Of course, Kent Steff is still out for a while, yet Scott Akatubby's won a couple. Of course, with Karch, Kiraisi, Johnson, and Stokos, that team is broken up. Dodd and Whitmarsh have won a couple, and Ingenio and Loyola have yet to win one outdoors. That victory was on the Avion Indoor Series, as were both of Johnson and Stoklos's victories, but a lot more teams getting involved in the win column early on, and of course because of the injury to Kent Steffes.
That's Canyon Seaman, 22 years old, out of Stanford University. His partner Jeff Rogers in the white hat went to the University of Hawaii. They're the underdogs. Mike Whitmarsh and Mike Dodd. This is Dodd in green, Whitmarsh, big man, white hat. Rogers with a dig, looking for a point. Not yet. Dodd was there. Canyon, whacka.
Canyon Seaman's the package. You know, he can set the ball. He's big. I really don't know him that well as a blocker out on the beach as yet, but at 6'5", he should be pretty potent.
Good all-around player.
Yeah. Jeff Rogers going to want to keep him as a partner for as long as he can.
Rogers with the serve, trailing 4-2. Boy, Dodd is just setting the ball straight back now.
Well, you know, Dodd and Whit don't have to rely on a lot of very precise ball control. They don't set the ball with their hands, so if the pass is spinning a lot, it makes it a little bit tougher, but not all that much, and they're both very big guys at 6'5", 6'7", 6'8", and, you know, they don't need a set right on top of the net.
Here comes Canyon. And Whitmarsh with a one-arm bandit. Right back to Canyon. You know, if you follow volleyball, you probably know how Canyon Seaman got his first name. His parents on a camping trip in Arizona visited the Grand Canyon, and apparently that's where Little Canyon was conceived, so they named him Canyon, his first name. And so one of the more interesting names in volleyball, the only Canyon I know of.
I know of no other Canyon. Person, that is.
Whitmarsh, Canyon with a dig, but Rogers touched the net. 4-2 is our score. Dodd and Whitmarsh.
Whitmarsh coming back to serve.
And here's Big Whit. Last time I told that story, Paul, you were talking about the last name. It just gave me a bunch of grief.
Well, because you got to tell the second half of the story for the first.
That's a surname. That's just a family name. What can I do about that? It's Whitmarsh.
Does make for a good story, though.
Whacks it off. Rogers, give him a point. 5-2, Dodd and Whitmarsh.
Say, Dodd and Whitmarsh obviously very confident that they can win this match, in spite of the fact that they lost this very surprising team, Seaman and Rogers, earlier in the tournament. That's why Mike Dodd's going to block all the time. They want to save Mike Whitmarsh. If he's going to get hit on the thumb again, they want it to happen in the finals.
Canyon got the kill, a rookie last year, 22 years old, very, very intelligent. Interestingly, back in 1990, he got the Karch-Karai Scholarship for Athletic Excellence. He was the valedictorian of his class at Mariposa High School. So a very intelligent sort of fellow. Here's Whitmarsh, and Rogers having some trouble controlling the dig. That's one he'll normally make.
Yeah, well, in spite of the fact that, you know, Jeff's been on tour for a long, long time, obviously at 30 years of age, this is still a huge opportunity. The Butterflies get going.
Never been in a final.
Nope. Best finish was a third last year in Baltimore. We talked about that with Bill Bullion. And the Butterflies start going, but you got to take advantage of these opportunities and make some plays.
Whitmarsh tries to punch it off. Rogers open net. He cannot convert it. 5-2 our score. Dodd and Whitmarsh trying to get another point. Dodd on 2. Got it!
Keeping the set very low to Mike Dodd on the left side. Primarily a right side player and likes the low set on the left. Helps his timing an awful lot. Canyon Seaman breaking left into the cross court, can't make the adjustment back to the middle.
20-second timeout taken by Canyon Seaman and Jeff Rogers. We'll take a quick timeout. 4:42 to go in the game. 6-2. Dodd Whitmarsh are up. Canyon Seaman and Jeff Rogers in our semifinal by 4. I'm Chris Marlowe with Paul Sunderland, of course. Here's Canyon Seaman in the red hat. He cuts it over Dodd and down. We talked a little about Canyon Seaman as a very smart fellow. He speaks 3 languages, Paul. Spanish, Italian, as well as English.
Canyon speaks Italian?
Absolutely.
Doesn't surprise me, because that's where he's going to be playing next winter. Wants to go over and play in the Italian leagues. And play
Ace down the line for Canyon.
A serve for Canyon Seaman.
So Seaman's starting to warm it up there.
Powerade ace serving challenge.
Canyon Seaman whipping it down the line. Good jump server, moving it around and working on Whitmarsh, getting Whit down in the sand.
6-3 our score. Nice dig by Rogers. Chance for a point. Canyon, who was a very fine setter in college, whips it over to Rogers, and Rogers can't convert.
Jeff having some problems on his offside. Always seen him play on the left, but that was a big miss, and not a real good set. Watch how deep the ball goes into Canyon Seaman's hand. Very difficult to pick it up there, but I don't think the location on that set was anywhere near what he wanted.
Whitmarsh will serve it. His team leading by 3. Winner plays Karch-Karai Scott Akatubby. Rogers, little dinky. Dodd. Oh, what a shot, and Rogers got it up. And he puts it away.
Side out for play.
Jeff Rogers, a fantastic scramble play.
Yeah, but look at the touch by Mike Dodd. How many players would even think about this? Really creative. Just the reverse knuckle pokey with a little spin, and Jeff Rogers got it.
Whitmarsh getting served now. Rogers and Seaman trailing 6-3. Dodd, cross court.
Side out.
Seaman and Rogers are not going to block as many balls. They got off to a big lead when they beat Dodd and Whitmarsh in the semifinals. They were up 8-2. Dodd and Whit were flat. They were not really focused for the match, making a lot of unforced errors. And then Rogers and Seaman smelled it and really played well in the second half of that game when Dodd and Whitmarsh inevitably made their run.
Canyon with the rocket down the line.
Look closely at Canyon Seaman where he turns around. You'll see a big scar on his right shoulder. Played in the World University Games a couple of summers ago and then had surgery after that.
That was in 1993 that he had that arthroscopic arm surgery.
Well, you wouldn't know it by looking at the scar.
Yep,
big
there it
line on the back of his shoulder.
Yeah, it's a little more intricate.
Yeah, it's some serious work done in there.
7 career open wins to his credit.
6 serving 3. Canyon.
And he whips it right to Whitmarsh. Should be a point. Oh, Dodd touched the net. Dodd said he didn't touch it. Our officials, Kim Pickering, Steve Burmaster, say, Mike, you did.
Well, both of them agreed. The officials agreed, but does that necessarily mean anything?
Yes.
I guess that means they both saw it. But Mike Dodd, I tell you, doesn't complain very often.
He might have
maybe just brushed it
there.
with his shirt or his trunks.
3 serving 6. 3:51 to go in the game. Rogers working on Whitmarsh. Big play here for Rogers and Canyon. They need to get a 6-4 change because then they go over to the poor side.
Yeah, but look at the way Mike Whitmarsh is carrying that left hand. He just now lowered it because I'll tell you, the blood goes down into it when you let it hang by your side. He was walking back after that play.
And he's not blocking, Paul.
Nope, not at all.
Not
like I said, Dodd's going to block. They're going to protect that hand right into the finals.
I tell you, Whitmarsh, out. That was off the big left thumb. Give the kill to Jeff Rogers. Rogers involved in a couple of businesses. He's got one called Pro Tech Athletics that manufactures and distributes sporting goods. He's also part owner of a thing called Eclipse Sports, which has ski and snowboard accessories. That's what he does in his spare time. So Jeff Rogers and Canyon Seaman hanging close. They get another point. We'll take the turn. It's 6-4. Dodd and Whitmarsh still lead. Great day for volleyball. An underdog team is trying to pull another huge upset. Canyon Seaman and Jeff Rogers, the 12th seeded team in the tournament, are trying to get to their first final ever against one of the great teams on the beach, Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh.
And on a week when there have been so many partner changes, nothing tainted whatsoever about Rogers and Seaman getting into the finals of the winners bracket and beating Dodd and Whitmarsh earlier, because the two teams they beat have been together all summer long, virtually. Brian Lewis, Bill Bullion, and then Dodd and Whitmarsh earlier on in the semifinals. They had a superb tournament.
The key match was a Beef Louie match. They were up 10-2. Then they went behind 14-13. Lewis and Bullion served twice for the match. Rogers and Seaman coming back to pull it out 16-14. Our game is 6-4. And Rogers snacks it. Canyon Seaman with the pretty set. And Jeff Rogers pounding it down. Jeff Rogers lives in Los Angeles, California, technically Brentwood. He told me he lives a block and a half from Nicole Simpson's former residence. So he's right in that area that you see on television a lot. As Whitmarsh taps it down the line. It's quite frustrating to be a resident in that area these days. Just lots of onlookers and sightseers and all kinds of crazy people hanging out around in Brentwood, California. So Jeff Rogers, his partner trailing by 2, getting served a lot, as he normally does. That's a nice shot, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's his shot. He's what we call a goofy footer. He closes left-right, even though he's right-handed. Most hitters who are right-handed close first with the foot that's on the same side with which they hit. I know that sounds very technical, but what it does is it opens up the cross-court shot for him very, very easily. That's where he wants to go.
Dodd, Canyon has it up. Can he hit on the left? And he shoots it down the line, and slowly but surely, Canyon and Rogers are catching up. They trailed 4-1. They trailed 6-2, but now it's 6-5. Canyon's got a lot of confidence, doesn't he?
Well, sure. He played in a great collegiate program, a wonderful high school program. He's already represented the United States in the World University Games, been asked to try out for the Olympic team. And as everybody said, been an up-and-comer on the beach. Everybody waiting for him to sort of fulfill his promise. And sometimes people don't handle that spotlight or pressure very well, but he is. Certainly a player of the future. As Rogers getting another serve, and he hits it off Dodd and down. 6-5 is our score. Clock could come into play. 2 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in our game. Ricky Ludes and Eric Fenoy Moana finished 4th. Bill Bullion, Brian Lewis, Troy Tanner, Wes Welch in 5th. Adam Johnson, Jose Loyola, Brent Frohoff, Tim Hovland in 7th. Then in 9th place, the surprise team of the tournament, Henry Russell and Burke Stefko, the team that upset Stoklos and Hyger in the first round of the tournament. Their highest finish ever. They split $3,090. Prize money, $100,000 in total prize money. First 20, 11, 9, 7, and 5. All the way down. They pay out to 25th place. And Jeff Rogers serving, trying to tie it up. This would be a major, major upset. Well, the key factor right now is the injury.
Nice! How about that? The husband and wife serve right down the pipe. And it's 6-6. And Dodd and Whitmarsh have just gone into the tank here.
Well, I think Whitmarsh's hand is seriously hurt right now. And Dodd and Whitmarsh look at this as an entire season from start to finish, from February on into September. And they're not going to risk their season if they think Whitmarsh's hand is seriously hurt.
Kenyon, yeah, he got it again. And Rogers and Seaman have taken the lead. 7-6 all of a sudden.
Well, what was the score when Whitmarsh got hurt? Since then, Seaman and Rogers playing great volleyball, and Dodd and Whitmarsh trying to find an answer right
I believe it was 3-1, Paul. And now it is 7-6 as they're working on Whitmarsh. He's having a lot of trouble. Rogers has it up, looking for another point. And he puts it away.
Got to take a timeout.
Absolutely.
The sprint is on. Dodd and Whitmarsh need to regroup here. Unless, quite frankly, they just figure that Whitmarsh is seriously hurt and they're going to play out the string and see what happens. Jeff Rogers remember we was on Mike Dodd earlier on the very tricky shot, and he gets the dig here and the transition play, getting good sets from Kenyon Seaman.
Jeff Rogers has only won $8,700 so far this year, career $137,000, but he's playing like $1 million player today. Whitmarsh and off Rogers out of bounds. 8-6. Rogers and Seaman have the lead. And Dodd will serve it. 2:28 to go in the game. Long spinner, and that travels long.
And you got to remember, too, that Seaman and Rogers are doing most of their damage right now on the bad side. You talked about the wind picking up. Dodd, they're trying to serve the jumper into the wind, not making anything happen on their trip through the good side.
Well, Whitmarsh has just lost his aggressiveness. Rogers picks another one up, chance for another point, and again. How about that? Trailing 6-2. Rogers and Kenyon turn it around, and they now lead 9-6 with 2:18 to go in the game.
He's putting his hand up to his wrist, maybe almost up to his elbow, into a huge bucket of ice that sits courtside in the player's rest area. You know he's got to be hurting.
If you just joined us, Whitmarsh did that blocking at 3-1. Now they're serving him. They've completely turned it around as the wind has come up to a howling, gusting kind of a...
It's really, really gusting right now. And Seaman and Rogers will love it if it stays like this because they're on the good side right now. This works very much against Dodd and Whitmarsh.
6 serving 9. It was 6-2, but Kenyon and Rogers having a little trouble on that particular play, and it's a point.
Well, they got to find a way to remain really confident. They're just sometimes when teams, are playing somebody like a Dodd and Whitmarsh, they're the big underdog. They get a lead, similar to as they did in the semifinals, just sort of waiting for Dodd and Whitmarsh to make their move.
Beautiful dig by Whitmarsh. It's going out, however, a little too strong. Kenyon and Rogers will have the ball. This is the first time that Kenyon and Rogers have ever played in a tournament together. They got together this past Thursday to practice.
That happens sometimes. You remember, of course, the famous case of Dan Verbalovich and Kent Steffes.
Absolutely.
If the chemistry is right, you get a little lucky, you get a break in the bracket, and then you create your own success as the tournament winds on. You just have that little extra energy when you're playing with someone for the first time.
I can remember that. I won my first Manhattan Open, my first tournament ever with Steve Obradovich. I'd never ever played with him, and I walked up that morning. He gave me a pair of shorts to wear, and we went through the tournament and won it. Mike Dodd is getting some encouragement. Yes, I was just about to say that. Encouraging applause. His team trailing 7-9, 1:54 to go in the game. Here's Kenyon. I don't know why they're serving. Wow, what a cut shot.
Oh, he missed it big time. He's laughing about it.
No, I think he chopped that off into the wind.
Well, maybe so, but I don't think he chopped it off quite that precisely.
Look at this. Nobody gets this.
Yeah, but I think that one blew back over his head. That was out of a little desperation.
All right,
but it
we'll
worked
ask
out
him.
just fine.
You ask him if they win it in your famous interview. It's going to be a point. Another one. It is 10-7 now for Rogers and Seaman. Suppose he missed this one too, huh?
You don't have to protect his interests, I mean, what are you, this guy's agent now?
No. He's got a good agent, I think.
Oh, he does.
He doesn't need me.
Yeah, he's not going to need much help if he keeps playing like this. A very desirable right side player, 6'5", can set the ball, jump serve,
He started off and got a couple of good finishes. Then he was going on the Asian trip, and nobody wanted to play with him because they weren't sure whether he was coming back or he would be tied up with the national team.
Right, and then, of course, he didn't have the necessary number of points to have a solid seed.
7 serving 10, and another serve out of bounds. It's been a weird game. 4-1, Dodd and Whitmarsh led. Then they upped it to 6-2. Then Rogers and Seaman ran off 7 straight points to make it 9-6. Dodd and Whitmarsh got a point, 9-7, now 10-7 with 1:40. Kind of like Rogers and Canyon's chances being on the good side. Canyon with the block.
I like him better now.
Yeah, you sure do.
Yeah, Mike Whitmarsh.
That thumb thing really turned it around, didn't it?
Not doing well with the thumb. Sure, Dodd and Whitmarsh were rolling. They looked very confident, playing much better than they had earlier on in the day when they lost to the same team, having defeated a couple of very highly regarded teams to get back into this match.
Clock is ticking, and off Canyon out of bounds. If you're Canyon and Rogers now, do you play the clock a little? Do you look up and go, hey, there's a minute and a half?
Not yet, because Dodd and Whitmarsh are so famous for their comebacks. I think about only one thing, just siding out. Just pass the ball, keep siding out. You keep the other team off the scoreboard, they cannot close the gap. And if you have any problems, make Mike Whitmarsh, who's playing defense, you know, if you get a bad set, get him on the sand, because with that injured wrist and thumb, it's going to be hard for him to make the play.
So Canyon Seaman will serve it up. And he's serving hard. It's going to be an ace. Crowd is stunned. They can't believe it.
Well, I think they know the same thing. I think they know that Mike Whitmarsh is hopefully not seriously injured his thumb, but to the point where it's really affected his ability to finish out this match. It's a long season, and Dodd and Whitmarsh take the big view. They don't look at this as just one tournament, the entire season. How successful can they be?
And it has to be really hurting him because he's not even blocking. He has not blocked one ball since the thumb injury.
He hasn't touched the ball with his left hand since the injury. Whitmarsh serving this time to Canyon Seaman, who has hit the ball extremely well throughout the course of this match. And you're right, the crowd is just sitting back going, boy, this looks like a done deal. Rogers and Seaman are going to beat Dodd and Whitmarsh twice in the same tournament.
So here is Jeff Rogers. His team leading 12-7 with 1:17 to play. Whitmarsh. Rogers. Not a bad play. Ball goes up. A couple more seconds. Kick off. And Dodd and Whitmarsh have it. What can Dodd and Whitmarsh do right now?
Well, if Mike Whitmarsh were healthy, I'd say Mike Whitmarsh's got to block a few balls. But in this situation, I'm not sure they can quite frankly do anything unless Rogers and Seaman completely choke.
Rogers. And Rogers taps it in the deep middle. So Jeff Rogers, who's 30 years old, going to be in his first final, it looks like, in his 6-year career. I mentioned from the University of Hawaii, started 20th, dropped to 22nd, has not had a good year. Got 17th last week with Pat Powers, 17th the week before with Brian Gatsky, 13th the week before. But what a difference a week can make.
And a partner.
Yep, 12-7, and Dodd with a nice game.
Obviously, he and Canyon Seaman have meshed extremely well throughout the course of this tournament and gotten some breaks. Nice touch by Mike Dodd. Jeff Rogers, who's made some good defensive plays so far in this tournament, cannot quite get to that one.
So sand timeout taken by Canyon and Rogers. Dodd and Whitmarsh trailing by 5. An interesting event is going to be coming to Texas. It's going to be on September 17, 1995. Prime Sports is going to show you the Great Texas Shootout. It will be live at Zyker Park in Austin, Texas. The top 2 volleyball teams on the beach will play for $100,000. Winner take all. Nice up there. Here's Canyon, and Canyon puts it away down the line. That's going to be a very intriguing event.
It's going to be intriguing. It will be intriguing to see who plays in it. Obviously, some machinations possible with the return of Kent Steffes, but kind of like sitting down calling a match for $100,000. Winner takes all.
And I want to tell you, Prime fans, it is going to be live, we are told, on the entire network that day. So look for it. You check your local listings and tune in. It's not going to be delayed. You won't see it a week later. It's going to be live. And Rogers can't get there. 42 seconds to go. Canyon Seaman and Jeff Rogers have turned it around. Mike Whitmarsh hurt his thumb with a 3-1 lead. and the game has degenerated from there. But you have to give credit to Seaman and Rogers, who played very, very well. And another sand timeout taken by Seaman and Rogers. They could be a little bit tired, don't you think?
Well, you know,
going deep into the tournament.
Absolutely, going much farther into the tournament, higher level of matches. This match is going to go on time in spite of the fact that Mike Whitmarsh was seriously injured early. So they played some long games. A break, though, however, they did get in the finals of the winners bracket because Kirai and Akitabi kind of worked them in that one.
Smoked them 15-2.
It was a curly fry.
Yeah, that's what Kenya said. Set is up, and an overset goes down. So going to be a disappointing finish for Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh. They're always consistent. I think they've only had one bad tournament in the last couple of years. They got a 17th last year in San Jose.
And that was about it. Other than that, and at that tournament, Mike Whitmarsh said, you know what, we should have just taken the weekend off. Both of us were tired. We should have just taken it off. But other than that one tournament, they've been right there each and every week since they got together.
Mike Dodd pounds it down the line. The precious few seconds remain. Under 35 seconds to go. 12-7. Dodd Whitmarsh don't do much jump serving, so it's just about over, folks. Canyon off the net, and easy cut shot. So Canyon, Seaman, and Jeff Rogers, who would have thought it, ranked 12th coming into this week's tournament behind Brian Gatsky, his former partner, and Eric Wirtz. But they're going to go into the final. And Dodd hits it out. I think one thing for Canyon Seaman and Jeff Rogers, and we'll get back to it when we come back, it's 13-7. Brian Akitabi overconfident. Well, we'll find out. Stay with us. Pa'alui looking very strong and very challenging.
Had some good finishes earlier in the season, struggled here in Texas. Name you'll hear of on down the line.
Yeah, he came up and kind of got on me today for mispronouncing his name a couple of weeks ago. He said, it's Pa'alui, Chris. Get it right, or you're out of here.
Hose down on your head.
That's exactly right. 20 seconds to go. Rogers and Seaman in control, 13-7. Chris Marlowe and Paul Sunderland. Dodd and Whitmarsh led early, 3-0, 4-1, 6-2. Dodd playing well. Whitmarsh was playing well. Then Whitmarsh injured his thumb and changed around this match. Rogers and Seaman taking advantage. And they have rolled it up. Canyon, nice cut shot inside. And just 12.5 seconds remaining before
12.6 seconds
Rogers and Seaman go on to play Karch Karai and Scott Akitabi. Time to run it out. Dodd, and the put away.
Swings away hard, good to side out, 6.9 seconds remains.
Crowd has been quiet. They were hoping for a much more competitive match, but it just hasn't worked out that particular way.
Well, and also they know Dodd and Whitmarsh very, very well. And once the injury happened to Mike Whitmarsh's hand, it just seemed that he really couldn't continue playing the kind of volleyball that everybody's come to enjoy so much. As this match is over, Canyon Seaman, Jeff Rogers going into the finals for the first time in their respective careers.
The final score at the expiration of the clock.
The ball hit the line. 13-8 is the final official score. Tough luck for Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh, but Jeff Rogers on the left and Canyon Seaman on the right. They are in their first final on the beach ever. And they will have the fun of playing Karch Karai and Scott Akitabi. We'll have more after this.